Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Roger Neal. I'm happy to be part of an outstanding day, another outstanding day to be a Binghamton Bearcat. Thank you all for coming to campus. Also, a special hello to those who are viewing this and listening in online at bubearcats.com. We welcome you. Today, of course, we're honoring two incredible athletes and outstanding student athletes, Emily Mackay and Lou Dupre, as Binghamton University's newest All-Americans. This is a special tradition that we began back in 2008 with NCAA pole vault champion Rory Quiller. Emily and Lou joined an elite group of men and women who've etched their names in Binghamton University history as NCAA Division I All-Americans. Binghamton has been an NCAA Division I program since 2001 and has produced 15 All-Americans in the sports of swimming and diving, men's lacrosse, men's soccer, wrestling, track and field, and women's cross country. Before starting our program today, we'd like to welcome both the family and invited guests of Lou and Emily who are sitting at the front row with us here today. We welcome you. We have a number of speakers. Today, we'd like to start things off by introducing the president of Binghamton University, Harvey Stenger.
Roger, we miss you on the radio in the morning, so I listen to your voice now, and it makes me feel very nostalgic. So thanks for being here, Roger, and emceeing this, and thanks to the coaches that are here with our awesome athletes and the parents and the family members. To watch what Emily and Lou did this last year during the COVID year was tough because we couldn't be there. The ability to watch them online is great, but to actually be there and to see the race or to watch the match is something that a lot of us missed because of COVID. The achievement of All-American is something that most people don't understand how difficult it is. But the path to that final event, whether it's in the wrestling arena or whether it's on a cross-country track or on a track, is really long. It takes an entire lifetime to get there. And then when you get to that season where it is the season, this is the one where I think I can get there, there's so many obstacles along the way. You've got to worry about health. Boy, even worse last year, worrying about health. Not even your own health, but the health of your teammates. Because the health of your teammates could have affected your ability to wrestle or to run because of a close contact. That's on top of the normal concerns about health, physical health, the injuries. Distance runners, got to be one of the toughest sports on your legs and your feet. Wrestlers, tears your ears off on a regular basis. But the shoulders and the legs and the hips, the injuries that can occur in both of those sports are enormous. So you're good. We know you're good. But now you've also got to be great because you've got to be good during that pressure of the pandemic. And you've got to manage yourself well so that you don't peak too early. You want to be healthy the entire season. You want to be on pace. And I always liked it when I first met Annette and she talked to me about one of her 4-minute milers. And she said he wanted to be a 4-minute miler too quickly. And she said, I'm going to give him a schedule, and if he sticks to it, I hope you remember this. I think if he sticks to it, he'll become a 4-minute miler. But if he tries to do it his way, he's going to hurt himself, and he's not going to get there. And she was right. And he did follow, reluctantly, as I remember, he did follow her advice, and he did become that 4-minute miler. I think the first one that Annette coached. I think the same thing happens with Emily, but I think Emily is probably a little more reasonable in conversations than that first athlete that Annette coached. And I know that Emily's not only an All-American, but an academic All-American as well. So she's quite an achievement as a student. And same thing with Lou. Gosh, you go to a wrestling match and you're there, and typically it's in front of 15,000 people, but not so in the Nationals this year. But still the same pressure is there, but perhaps not the adrenaline as much, and you lose early. And we've seen some of our wrestlers lose early. And it's not over. It's not like a cross-country match where if you lose in the first, there's only one race, you're done. Even though there was 255 runners at the cross-country match, and I hope you got out in front fairly early, Emily, because I can't imagine fighting through that crowd as you get down the first mile or so. But to lose early in the wrestling tournament, you know now you've got a really tough road back. You've got to win one. You've got to win two. You're probably wrestling 2 or 3 times a day at that point. And when Lou turned it around this year and became an All-American at the wrestling championships, that was a sign of that grit that we know that our team has. I want to give a lot of credit to Kyle. I want to give a lot of credit to Annette and also to Mike as the coaches for the track and field team. And that the fact that we have them both for another year is really exciting. And we do know that, as I don't know how many times I've said it, but Dennis has been at most of them, one of these days, one of you athletes out there is going to be a national champion. One of these days, one of these athletes out there is going to be a national champion. We don't want to put any pressure on you, but just remember, stay healthy, pace yourself, listen to your coach. Listen to your coach, and you're going to get there. You'll be close, and then at the end, it's going to be all your personal grit, determination that gets you over the line. Congratulations. We're so proud of you, Emily and Lou. Great luck.
Thank you, President Stenger. Thank you. Now we'd like to welcome to the podium Binghamton's Interim Director of Athletics, Dennis Kalina.
So as Roger said earlier, this is a great day to be a Bearcat. This is a day where we have the luxury of recognizing student athletes for something they accomplished in their sport. But I think more importantly, this is something very significant for me as I've got to know Lou and Emily a little bit here, is that these are two great people. And so Lou and Emily's accomplishments this year, as President Stenger alluded to, were even more significant knowing the challenges that they had during COVID. They had limitations placed upon them. I remember the first time we met and said, how are we going to get these student athletes to play, to compete? And one of the things we said, they're going to have to be wearing masks. And I remember Coach Annette saying, they're distance runners. They can't run a mask. And we're like, unfortunately, they're going to have to if we're going to try to get them to, and I say this a lot to our student athletes, if we're going to try to get them to the finish line. And that finish line is to get them to compete as far as they can, and in these two particular cases, all the way to the national championship. They figured out a way to do it. They had to wear masks. They had to wrestle or practice in pods. They couldn't always participate at the times they wanted to. They had limitations placed upon them during this past year. But through it all, they persevered and they excelled. And this is what makes this accomplishment today for these two student athletes even more significant. So as this morning I walked over to the Wall of Excellence over in the Event Center, and I just wanted to stare at it for a second and just look at it because I wanted to draw a little bit of inspiration of what today was going to mean. And as I looked at it and I saw over there, Lou and Emily are going to be permanently recognized amongst their track and field alumni peers of Monique and Drew Dyer and Brian and Rory and Eric and Jesse and Kishora, and I think I got them all. And Lou is going to be over there with Steve and Tom and Justin and Mark and Josh and Donnie and Nick. And that's going to be significant to me because I actually had the good fortune of being here with these two. And so as I look over at that wall now, it's going to be a proud moment because I know what it takes for the coaching standpoint to get these student athletes there. I know what they've gone through in this past year to accomplish what they did, and that is very, very significant. So I am honored and privileged to be a part of this ceremony today. And so while this is a recognition ceremony, it's also a thank you. It's a thank you to the parents of Lou and Emily for trusting our staff to train and educate your children. To Jason and Jennifer, it's been a privilege to have Sam and Anthony and Vincent to be here as Bearcat athletes along with Lou. And to John and Julie, thank you for believing in Annette and Mike to have her come back home to the Southern Tier after a year out west. We've seen now that it's paid off, and we thank you for that. And finally, on behalf of the athletics department, thank you to Lou and Emily for being those quality individuals who not only excelled in your sport, but also who represented Binghamton University with honor. And so this is your day. Enjoy it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Thank you. Before continuing with our speakers, we'd like to acknowledge our local officials who sent greetings and citations to both Lou and Emily. Their State Senator Fred Akshar and Assemblywoman Donna Lopardo will now present both Lou and Emily with these citations. Thank you to the Senator, Senator Akshar, and Assemblywoman Lopardo. Here from the Sports Information Office, Assistant Director of the Sports Information Office, David O'Brien, will make the presentations. And David Johnson, thank you very much as well.